As Kevin was explaining the instructions for taking the elevation pill, Professor Murdock snatched the pill out of his hand and took it, without even getting a glass of water. About 3 seconds later, a weird, dull sound came from Professor Murdock's body. Even Kevin, who was on the other side of the room, could hear it clearly. Professor Murdock started to look different, like her body was filling up with energy. Kevin could see her aura changing as it began to return to its normal state. Professor Murdock was definitely starting to recover what she had lost after taking the neutralization pill. Kevin just gave a slight smile. He had a feeling that the professor would take a huge step after this first dose of the herbal med. But it bothered him a little that Professor Murdock was a member of the Union, so Kevin wasn't sure it was right or wrong to help her recover her strength and training. "Is that it? I feel better, but I'm still not back to my old self." Professor Murdock was wondering if something was wrong and started to panic that she wouldn't make a full recovery. "Professor, have you forgotten what I said? This elevation pill can only counteract 1/3 of the effect of the neutralization pill. If you want to completely restore your strength, you need to take 2 more pills." Kevin explained the process to her very calmly. "What about the other 2? Give them to me right now." Professor Murdock ran over to Kevin, grabbed him by the shoulders, and shook him. "Don't get so excited, Professor. Let me finish what I was saying, would you?" Kevin completely understood what she was feeling right now, so he wasn't too surprised at her behavior. "I won't listen to you until you give me the pills." Professor Murdock had a look in her eyes like a hungry wolf staring at a nice plump sheep. "But Professor, you can only take 1 elevation pill every 2 days. The way you're acting, I'm afraid that if I gave them to you now, you'd take them both at once, before you're ready," Kevin explained patiently. "Just give me the next 2 pills." Professor Murdock was getting more impatient by the minute. You couldn't imagine her grief and suffering over the past few days. She'd even considered ending it all. But she managed to get through it, hoping that Kevin would be able to help her. "I'm really not sure that's a good idea while you're still in this state of mind." Kevin had a pretty good idea what she would do if he gave her the other meds. Preparing an elevation pill was easy for him, and the herbs and other ingredients weren't very rare, but they were a little bizarre. But if he gave her the other 2 pills she needed, would she take them too soon? That could be disastrous. Professor Murdock realized she'd screwed up. She took several deep breaths to calm her mood. Then she gulped and said, "Kevin, you can rest assured that I'll follow your instructions and just take 1 pill every 2 days. So it's okay for you to give me the remaining 2 doses." "Are you sure, Professor?" Kevin hesitated for a moment and then reached into his pocket to pull out the vial containing the last 2 pills and poured them into his palm. As usual, Professor Murdock completely ignored Kevin's warnings and quickly downed the rest of the elevation pills before he had a chance to react. "If you don't have anything else to do, you'd better go back to the classroom before your classmates start to wonder what's going on." Professor Murdock gestured toward the door. All she could think about right now was regaining her strength. At that very moment, the Williams family mansion in New York City was filled with lilies and carnations. Everyone was dressed in black with very sad faces in their eyes, and the air was heavy with grief. Randall Williams, the Williams family patriarch and the last remaining family member of his generation, had suddenly died during the night at the age of 76. Once the news got out, there was an endless stream of people coming to their home to express their condolences. Almost all the dignitaries in New York City stopped by to pay their respects as he lay in state in the mansion's main room. Thomas Williams knelt down on the floor and prayed for his father. One of the visitors stepped up and patted Thomas on the shoulder. She asked in disbelief, "How did Grandpa Williams die so suddenly?" Laura Williams, Thomas's wife, quickly stood up and said aloud, "What do you mean by that? My husband had nothing to do with his father's death. It's all Kevin's fault." The woman stared at Laura and asked her, "What are you talking about? Didn't Kevin escape the day before yesterday with his friend Dalton, who'd been seriously injured?" "Only because Grandpa wasn't willing to let him die in the hospital after the fight in the hospital room," Laura replied while wiping the tears from her face. While they talked, a steady stream of people walked through the room to pay their condolences. But didn't Randall Williams love Kevin the most out of all his grandchildren? One of them asked. So he betrayed the family, stole from them, fought with his grandfather, and now he did this? Another visitor commented. Is what she said true? The woman who was standing next to Thomas was angrier than she'd ever been in her entire life. Yes, it's true, Thomas replied sorrowfully without turning his head. All of a sudden, there was a loud noise in the room. The woman stamped her foot heavily on the floor, breaking the marble tiles and making a deep hole. I swear in front of Randall Williams' corpse that I'll... Kevin Williams. Ariana Titus's voice echoed through the entire room, and they could even hear her outside the mansion. The Williams family members who heard her thought it was a good thing that Grandpa had joined the Myriads. Even though he was gone, they would still have protection. The mourners chatted with each other quietly. They all had sad looks in their eyes. Half of the people there had come to see how the Williams family was doing after their great loss. Randall's passing would have repercussions far beyond the limits of New York City. He'd done a lot over the years and touched many lives. But with him gone, there were going to be a lot of changes in the family. But nobody expected the family to be so well protected. Ariana's outburst of grief and anger had really boosted the family's morale. All of a sudden, everyone heard a phone ring. They turned around to see who it was, and Officer Emmett was taking out her cell phone. It was Kelly's mentor with the union. She started talking as soon as she answered the phone. Thanks for calling back. There's something I want to confirm with you. What's going on, Kelly? Have you had a setback? Her mentor asked hesitantly. Kelly had told her that she'd been able to find a power pill to help her break through her plateau in training. Didn't I promise I'd be able to get you a power pill? But as soon as Kevin heard that I was asking for you, his attitude changed. So I'm wondering if you've had any run-ins with him in the past. Her tone was very respectful. After all, her mentor had a far higher rank than she did in the organization. Kelly's mentor was very distressed to hear this. Are you telling me that you asked Kevin Williams for the power pill? Never mention that name to me again. She was absolutely livid. Listen to me right now, Kelly. No matter what your relationship with him is, you need to break it off immediately. Now I have to report this to our leader. There's very bad blood between Kevin and our organization. Why is that? Kelly was a little confused about what to do and didn't respond for a moment. If I cut off contact with him, what about your medication? As long as it's made by Kevin, never mind. I wouldn't take anything from him. Just the thought of it makes me feel dirty. Then she hung up angrily.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.